Now, Al-Jamah-ah's Thapelo Ahmad is the new mayor of Johannesburg. His predecessor, Mpho Phalatse, did not survive a vote of no confidence. Just before being booted out, though, she announced a bold energy plan for the city. So what happens to this plan, and what is then the impact of unstable coalitions, as we've witnessed on service delivery? Let's discuss this now with political analyst Professor Sandile Swana, who, of course, joins us this morning to take this conversation forward. Prof, good morning to you, and thank you so much for your time this Monday morning. And that's the question. Mpho Phalatse announced that very bold energy plan just before then being booted out as the DA mayor, the mayor right here in Johannesburg. What's your view then of what's to happen to all these plans promised to the residents of Johannesburg?
Yes, yesterday we spoke also with Al-Jamah-ah. Hendricks was there when we spoke about this. There is an IDP there, let's start there, which is the Integrated Development Plan of the city, which is a 5-year plan that expires in 2027, and related budgets. So we cannot say there is no plan that the administration, which is the professionals in the municipality, are supposed to implement, and the politicians to oversee. So, and Al-Jamah's position yesterday was that that plan is outdated, but it's a 5-year plan in any case, which expires in 2027. As to how it gets outdated, it's a mystery to me. So ideally, we would want the politicians to agree that the plans that are in place must continue. The professionals in the municipality must be allowed to continue with the work whilst the politicians are contesting these other issues that they want to contest.
And I suppose, Prof, that let's bring that clarity to residents, because the issue around service delivery and instability has been a call for concern for those impacted by these political contestations that have been occurring. So are you saying that even with the coming in and going out of mayors, especially at the frequency we've been seeing, that will not necessarily affect the IDPs that are placed to assist with service delivery in a city?
By law, it should not affect the IDP, because once the IDP is in place, you've got to see it through the 5-year period, and it actually cascades down to the ward. So every ward councillor needs to make sure that what was approved in the IDP is actually enforced in their ward, and so on and so forth. So the professionals need to be given that space to do that. The energy crisis is old. So the plans to resolve the energy crisis themselves need to continue, because Joburg is the engine, Johannesburg is the engine of the SADC region, economically speaking, and it has not been performing under the ANC for a very long time. And it's about time that we start embracing, all of us, superior performance of the city of Joburg.
I want to then take a turn to Al-Jamah's Thapelo Ahmadi, Prof, and talk about what his fate looks like, especially with, the history of mayors in Johannesburg. We've seen with Herman Mashaba, we've seen with Dada Morero, now Mpho Phalatse. There seems to be a coming in and going out at a frequent pace when it comes to Johannesburg mayors. What do you think is his fate? And do you think he will be able to perform his duties without necessarily the consequence of future motions of no confidence?
No, he is at risk himself. At the moment, Ahmad is a client, if you are to use strict language, really, you'd say he's a puppet of the ANC and the EFF. He's there as a face of these two principles. So for as long as they are satisfied that he's doing their bidding and making it appear as though minority parties are being respected by the DA, not by the DA, by the ANC and the EFF, well and good, other than the fact that you may well discover that Dada Morero himself and the ANC would like to openly take credit for whatever achievements that might come, because we all know that the Panyaza Lesufi, Cyril Ramaphosa, and all the big politicians want to recover in 2024 what they have lost. They have lost, and they want to recover. So this is not just about Johannesburg. It is also about positioning for the national and provincial elections, where the big parties such as the ANC have been losing.
So it seems like it's all chess. It's a game. We might have lost the battle, but we're aiming to win the war, which is 2024 government elections. What does this tell the voters? Because on one hand, the voters are told one thing in terms of vote for a certain party. This party has your best interests at heart. But then on the other hand, we're having conversations with yourselves as political analysts saying this is all a chess game at play here for a bigger bite at the general election. So what does this mean then for coalitions, for voters, but also for the elections, do you think, Prof?
I think that the voters like you and I have got to continue to voting with our wisdom, our consciences, and voting for the parties that we prefer. The politicians, as we have seen, many of them want to stay in power regardless of poor performance. And this poor performance is all over South Africa. Gauteng is supposed to be the absolute total leader in terms of the SADC region economic growth. It is not. Johannesburg is supposed to be the leader. It is not. Cape Town, where the DA has been governing, has also performed poorly. The economic performance is mediocre. So mediocrity among the upper classes and the ruling elites is the norm now. So we as voters have got to continue looking for alternatives regardless of the attempts by politicians to stay in power by hook or by crook, because that is what we are now faced with in Johannesburg. The old politicians who have been failing for a long time want to stay in power regardless of their continuing failure.
And I suppose it's time for the voters to also realize that ultimately the power lies in their hands. When they mark that X on the ballot, they decide who to keep in power, Prof. And I appreciate you speaking to me about this topic that is, of course, Professor Sandile Swana, just reflecting on, of course, Thapelo Ahmad being the new mayor of Johannesburg, what lies ahead in terms of his responsibilities and duties. The big question being, is he just an interim mayor? Will he be booted out in no time? Or will we actually see longevity and more sustainability when it comes to a long-standing mayor? That's the question. And of course, we'll have to wait and see and bring you those updates right here on eNCA.